Hey everyone, it's Mithrilda and welcome back to my journey of learning to draw. So it's been a while since the last time I've been posting and really practicing and moving forward in my art journey. So it kind of feels like the same thing that just happens to everyone. Some stuff happened that interrupted me while I was practicing my art. And then life got really busy. There was a lot of stuff to deal with. The longer I was away from doing art, the more nervous I was about getting back into it. This might sound a little weird, but somehow I feel like my past art, I am both proud of it, but I also feel kind of trapped by it. Like, in some way, I'm afraid that I won't be as good as I used to be. Like, when I made these things during classes and courses after much studying, I was so proud. I couldn't believe that I could make something like that. But as the years have gone by, and every once in a while, I take a look at my Instagram profile and I'm like, wow, I don't think I could do that again. What if I try to draw something and now it's really bad? And that'll be really scary. Like, as long as I don't draw anything, it won't overwrite those skills. Like, I can always tell myself that that's something I made, and I don't have to prove to myself that I can't make it anymore. I also keep thinking of what feels like lost or wasted time. Like, I spent all that time and effort learning how to do these things, and because of something silly like not keeping up with my practice and with my studies, I've lost the ability to do that. Then did I just waste my time with learning things? Like, should I have waited until I was able to actually consistently keep up with it? Like, intellectually, I know that that's an irrational thought, but these are the kinds of things that were popping into my head as I looked through my old sketchbooks and I looked through my old posts. And I longed for the ability to do that stuff again, but I felt really scared about having to confront everything that comes with it. It inspired me to go back and see when I actually posted my first video. And can you believe that was 8 years ago? 8 years ago, I first said, I want to learn how to draw. I'm gonna make some videos about it. I know that there are people who have been born since that video came out and are now far better at drawing than I am. And that's a little bit depressing. But on the other hand, I look back on my life and I'm like, I can't say that I've been wasting my time. Like, I've always been a bit of a hoarder. And over the last couple years, I've actually started decluttering and making my living and working spaces neat in a way that it's never been before. I can cook now, which is really cool. Like, I remember being so frustrated, feeling like I would always be trapped by using recipes. I'm like, I just want to be free. I just want to be able to cook whatever I want. I just want to be able to throw things together and make a meal. And now that's something that I can actually do. I can actually just go to the grocery store, look at what's on sale, put some stuff together, cook it up, make a delicious, nutritious meal, which is something kind of beyond my wildest dreams a couple years ago. And in a way, that's kind of similar to art. I guess I was able to accomplish in cooking what I haven't been able to do in art. Probably because the motivation is a bit higher, you know, like I don't want to spend money on eating out and I want to eat delicious food. And so I'm constantly being forced to practice like every couple days. I feel like I'm having some realizations right now. I've also been going to the gym consistently and working out once a week, pretty much. And as someone who did not grow up very athletic, I'd say I'm probably in the best shape of my life, which is a really cool feeling. And I've also been doing a lot of social dancing and ballroom dancing, doing a little hip hop and ballet. And also growing up, I was so bad at taking care of plants. I killed so many of them. But lately, I've been able to keep my first little flock of plants alive. These plants have been in my custody from about 6 months for the newest ones to 4 years for the oldest ones, and I think they're doing pretty good. So while my first instinct is to kick myself and say, darn it, why did I waste so much time? If I just drew 5 minutes every day, I could have improved by so much, whatever, blah, blah, blah. I don't know, I can't bring myself to do it because there's so many things that I have done with my time that I'm grateful for. And maybe I could have balanced doing art along with all those other things, but I don't know if it would have brought me joy at that time. What I am saying right now, like the thoughts that I am verbalizing in this moment, are things that I've been thinking about over the past day or two, after I finally kind of felt ready to confront this whole thing. For a long time, I feel like art has just been kind of this painful corner in my brain. Whenever it gets a little bit too close, I just turn away, think about something else for a while, because it felt like a lot of stuff to process, and I was going through so many other things, and I had so many other things to focus on that I just didn't have the bandwidth to deal with it at the time. So I decided to start drawing again, and I sat down, I took out a piece of paper and a pencil, and I'm like, what the heck am I supposed to do now? So I figured, let's go back to my old friend, just grabbing a book off the shelf and seeing what's interesting about it. So this is Thinking with a Pencil by Henning Nelms, with 692 illustrations of easy ways to make and use drawings in your work and in your hobbies. On the back it says, if you have enough skill with a pencil to write your own name, you can make a drawing. Well, that sounds good to me. So it looks like this came out in 1957, and I just picked it up from a local used bookstore a couple years ago. It's been sitting on the shelf ever since. Now it's time to shine. This book seemed interesting to me because it's not meant to teach you how to draw or how to make pretty drawings, which is usually the kind of stuff I look for, and then I try to follow it, and then it's really hard, and I get frustrated, and then I quit. So it seems like this book is about how to think using drawings and diagrams, how to communicate things to people, and how to break down the process of making those sorts of drawings in order to accomplish those purposes. And so I've been reading this book, and I've found it really fascinating. I guess I don't know if I would say that there's anything in here that I've never heard before, but I just really like the way he says it, and it's been quite inspiring. And so I'm gonna read a few passages that I feel like are relevant for our discussion here. Chapter 1, Drawing for Practical Use. If you have enough skill with a pencil to write your own name, you can make drawings like those in the frontispiece. They may be crude, and they certainly do not pretend to be artistic. Nevertheless, their value is proved by the fact that each of them served its purpose in a work of major importance. Practical drawings are mental tools. Once you have learned to make them, you will find that they are as useful in solving problems as saws and hammers are useful in carpentry. Understanding drawing. When you want to make more elaborate drawings, knowledge can usually provide an adequate substitute for skill. I have no natural talent for drawing, but all my life I have been placed in situations where I required pictures or diagrams and could not persuade anyone else to make them. This forced me to search for methods of producing drawings without skill. The present book is evidence that I found a great many. Although there are substitutes for skill, there is no substitute for understanding. A collection of methods is of little use unless you have a firm grasp of the principles on which they are based and are able to recognize opportunities for putting them to actual use. If you have found drawing difficult, you probably attributed this to a lack of skill. Actually, part of the trouble was almost certainly due to something quite different: lack of knowledge about the thing you were trying to draw. The heads in figures 5 and 6 give some idea of how serious a handicap this can be, and show how much even a little knowledge may help. If there is any question in your mind about whether you can learn to draw, try sketching a head right now. Make it face left. For some reason, that is easier. Place the eye halfway between the top of the skull and the chin. See how much more effective this is than the heads you have drawn in the past. Then find a drawing of a profile head and copy that. The copy will be better than your first sketch. This is not because your skill has miraculously increased, but simply because you have more data to go on. No one can draw any object unless he either has it before him as a model, or is sufficiently familiar with it to create it from imagination, or recreate it from memory. Leonardo da Vinci was an infinitely better draftsman than Galileo, but he could not have made Galileo's sketch in Figure 1 because he never saw a sunspot. If you are not accustomed to drawing, your memory for graphic facts is probably unreliable. Do not trust it. Work from a model, from a snapshot, or from copy, which is the term applied by commercial artists to pictures clipped from magazines and newspapers. Diagrams and graphs can be based on verbal descriptions, mathematical formulas, or statistics. As you gain experience, you will find that many of the facts you need can come out of your own head, but they must be in your head before they can come out of it. I put a little star next to that sentence because, I don't know, it feels like such a simple thing, and yet this really shook me. Reading drawings. Those who are accustomed to work with drawings speak of reading them, and they use the term in much the same way that other people do when they speak of reading a printed text. A drawing is said to read well when its meaning is clear. Thus, a fashion sketch reads well when it tells the dressmaker everything except the measurements that she needs to know in order to make the garment. Reading a drawing is easier than making one. You can read drawings that you cannot make, but you cannot make a drawing unless you could read it if it were made by someone else. For this reason, learning to make drawings begins by learning to read them. Every illustration in this book is an exercise in reading. Study each one to make sure you understand it thoroughly. Functions of drawing. Nearly everyone with whom I talked while I was preparing this book spoke of drawing as a tool for communication, and seemed unaware that it has other functions. Although drawing is certainly an effective and sometimes indispensable tool for expressing ideas, this is not its only use or even its most valuable one. My own experience has convinced me that practical drawing is primarily a thinking tool. It can be used for taking notes, for learning, for planning, and for computation. Perhaps no one of these functions by itself is as important as communication, but when we consider them all, there is little doubt that the ability to think with a pencil is even more valuable than the ability to talk with one. How to make drawing easier. The difficulty of making any particular drawing depends on the accuracy with which the points and lines must be fixed, and on how hard this accuracy is to achieve. Decreasing the need for accuracy. Anything that lowers the need for accuracy decreases the need for skill. If the standard of accuracy can be set low enough, anyone can draw anything for which he has the necessary data. We seek accuracy for two reasons: clarity and appearance. When you make a sketch, either to guide your own thinking or to explain a point in conversation, appearance is not important, and clarity can usually be secured by a very low standard of accuracy. The drawings in the frontispiece were easy because the standards chosen were low. Try to establish a slightly higher standard than your purpose seems to require. This helps to avoid forming a habit of careless drawing. It also provides a margin for error in case you have underestimated the need for accuracy or let yourself fall below the standard you have set. Unnecessary accuracy is a waste of effort. Unnecessary carelessness can defeat the purpose of a drawing. If you master the basic principles and methods of drawing and apply them to everything that comes along, regardless of type or subject, you can draw anything which interests you, if you have the necessary facts. You would not learn one kind of arithmetic to make change in dollars and cents, and another kind to handle measurements in feet, inches, and fractions. There is no more reason to study drawing in watertight compartments labeled mechanical drawing, charts and graphs, map making, costume design, and so on. Some subjects may seem harder to draw than others. However, the difference is in the subject itself rather than in the drawing. Human figures, for example, require a fairly high standard of accuracy. Furthermore, the facts about the figure are subtle. They are not easy to master, even when you sketch from life. If you knew as much about the structure of the human body as you do about the shape of an egg, you could draw one as easily as the other, with the same degree of accuracy. You can convince yourself of this by noticing that familiar subjects seem easier than unfamiliar ones. As your skill does not vary with the subject, the difference must lie in your knowledge of the facts. Again, it is much easier to copy a drawing freehand than to sketch it from life. The reason for this is that the artist who made the drawing has already gathered the pertinent facts and revealed them in his picture. When you copy it, you take your facts from him instead of having to dig them out for yourself. This makes your drawing seem easier, although the real difference is that the facts are more accessible. If you want to produce expert drawings in a professional field, you must concentrate on the applications of drawing that it requires. This may involve taking a specialized course. Nevertheless, the important things to learn in such a course are not specialized methods of drawing. They are the facts about the subject matter, the conventions used in that type of drawing, and the most efficient ways of applying the general methods of drawing to problems that arise in the field covered by the course. How to practice without practicing. We cannot learn to draw without practice, but practice is dull and no one enjoys it. So real for that. If you study some individual type of drawing, you must begin with formal exercises which have no value except as practice material. In general drawing, however, you can start by making charts, diagrams, and tracings that you can actually use. You will then get your practice by drawing these. Another painless method of practicing is to doodle with a purpose. You can doodle coin heads well enough now to get a lot of fun out of it. As you learn new methods, invent doodling exercises for yourself. Do not repeat the same doodle endlessly. Draw something different each time. So yeah, that's part of the intro chapter. I thought it was really interesting, and I'm like, hell yeah, let's see what he's got to say. I guess something else I realized during my little break from art is that I never really figured out why I wanted to learn to draw in the first place. Of course, it's the question that everyone always asks you, and I never really had a good answer for it. I was just like, I want to draw pretty girls. I want to draw cute things. I want to be able to draw things that interest me. And I guess thinking back on the last couple years now, I feel like saying that out loud, it doesn't really resonate with me. And instead of thinking, what is something I can say is my reason for drawing? If I just look back at the last couple years and see what I've actually drawn, I feel like it tells a little bit different of a picture. Like, as I was reading through this book, I was thinking, yeah, I guess I do use drawing or at least a sheet of paper as a way to organize my thoughts and put things together. A lot of times when someone's explaining a concept to me, I'm like, hold up. Sorry, can you give me a sec? I need to go grab a piece of paper so I can draw what's happening, because I feel like I just can't comprehend it verbally, like going into my ears. I need to have it going down on a page as I'm listening, and I've been using it as a tool for communication. For example, in preparation for an appointment with the vet, I was supposed to show them where all the main cat things are located in the house. So I guess when it comes to why I want to learn to draw, what comes to mind for me is I feel like I've been chasing the ghosts of other people's art dreams, or chasing their shadows. I don't know if that entirely makes sense, but I'll try to explain what's been in my mind. So I guess I'm thinking, for a lot of the artists that I admire, I see their beautiful drawings, I see their beautiful finished works, and I'm like, wow, I want to be able to draw like that. I want to be able to draw those beautiful things like they can. Like, I would love to be able to do fan art and draw my favorite characters doing silly things or whatever. But in some ways, the art that they make is kind of like the shadow that they're casting. I guess in this analogy, their art skills are kind of like a sculpture, and they are working at making their sculpture in the way that they want to, right? For their dream, the thing that gets them out of bed, the thing that gets them at the desk to draw. And for some people, it's because they want to tell a story, and in order to get that story out, they need to learn to draw because they have these ideas in their mind. People who want to write a webcomic or do animation or illustrate books and stuff, and they want to get those ideas out and they need to draw it. So they're putting all those illustration skills onto their sculpture. Or some people want to do concept art. Maybe they want to work on a video game franchise that they love, and they feel like the way to get there is to learn concept art and to work on that franchise. So they're figuring out how to do perspective and how to photo bash and come up with all these cool, funky character designs and whatever concept artists do. And other people, they might just really love something. Like, I see people who just draw cars because they love cars and they want to draw them, or trains, or bugs, or animals, or people, or clothing, or history, and they want to portray a particular historical moment, or biology, and they want to educate people about how cells in the body works. But each of these people are chiseling away at the sculpture that is their art skill. And when you shine a light on that sculpture, it casts a shadow that reflects everything that they've built up and what they can do. And because they're so skilled with their sculpture, it casts just a beautiful shadow. And I'm looking at that, I'm like, oh my God, that is so gorgeous. I want to make a shadow like that. But like all these people, they were never trying to make a beautiful shadow. They were trying to make the sculpture. Right? They were trying to do their concept art, write their webcomic, make their anime, like draw the perfect fan art of their headcanon. And the consequence of chasing that dream is that they left something really cool looking behind. But if I just try to copy their shadow, I'll never have my own sculpture. I guess what I'm trying to say is, I'm like, in the end, I feel like I want to make pretty drawings. It's just not enough for me because, I don't know, that's not what gets me out of bed. That's not what gets me to the desk. So I've been asking myself, what is? Because part of it may be that I'm just not skilled enough to make drawings that are pretty enough to motivate myself to make the drawings. But again, I feel like if I chase doing something that makes my heart happy, then I will just naturally do more art and it'll just naturally become better over time. So when I really think about it, I haven't drawn in 3 years, more like 3.5. That's not actually even true, because there are things in my life that make me run toward a piece of paper or toward a sketchbook and put it down on paper. One of those things is understanding. I had to replace the guts of my toilet and I really wanted to figure out how it worked. And I was looking at these diagrams and articles and it was really confusing. And the best way that worked for me was drawing it, asking myself, how does this thing connect to that thing? Why does this thing move up when this goes down? And through that, I was able to reason it out and figure out how a toilet worked. Something else that confused me, filet crochet. Like, look at this thing. It's pretty cute, eh? It's basically just a crocheted rectangle where you leave some of the boxes empty and you fill some of them, and it has this little pixel art type effect. And I couldn't quite understand the math of how to actually execute it. So my first instinct is run to the notepad. And with this, I was able to actually visualize it and come to an understanding. The second thing that makes me do art things is when I have to, for some reason. So I've never really been that interested in 3D modeling, or it feels like it would be cool, but I just never really had a reason to get into it. But I signed up to do a community project where I had to paint a mural on a segment of a wall, and it's a bit of an odd shape, and I didn't have a good way to like make sketches or visualize how everything would look from different angles. So I was like, well, I guess I have to go make a 3D model. And I found an app on my iPad so I could quickly throw something together. I think this was about when Procreate first added the ability to paint on 3D models to the app. And I was like, great. I guess it wasn't so bad figuring it out when I needed it. And now I have a new little skill. That was a couple years ago, so I don't even know if I could do it again. But hey, at least I know it's possible. And another example, I had to whip up a last-minute costume for my friend's themed birthday party, and I thought I could be a Bill from Schoolhouse Rock. And I had a lot of fun just making this little badge and coloring in the stripes, gluing it onto this piece of cardboard for structural stability. Another thing that brings me to my notebook every time is when I need to communicate some concept that I feel like I can't adequately express with words. For example, the vet wanted me to give them some diagrams or pictures or something to show where all the cat-related items were located in the house. And I felt like the best way to communicate that was through some drawings. Since I'm able to make the choice to only include the relevant details and highlight them to make them a lot clearer. I included some pictures as well, but they're real life, they're messy, there's random clutter around, and all sorts of things that aren't relevant. I would not call these masterpieces. I'm sure there's lots of errors in perspective and everything all over the place, but using the language from the book, I feel like it was at an adequate standard of accuracy for the use case, and the vet said it was very good. Another thing is this shower layout. I was trying to explain what my ideal shower would kind of look like, and nobody really understood what I was trying to describe. And so it was really cool to just be able to say like, give me a sec, I'll be back in an hour, and I'm gonna draw out exactly what I mean so that there's not a miscommunication about this. And now I'm thinking, I mean, those are certainly drawings, but I wouldn't really consider any of them to be art, per se. And yet these are the things that I've been inspired to create, not because I felt like I needed to do them to practice or to improve, but because I had a use in my life and I felt a desire to fulfill it. Wait a minute, is this what people mean when they say, like, why do you want to learn how to draw? Do other people feel compelled to draw their comic or practice their figures in the same way that I feel compelled to run to the sketch pad whenever words fail me and I just want to get my ideas out. I'm looking at these and I'm like, there's no way I didn't learn something from completing these drawings. There's no way I'm not better now. If I just do a bunch of stuff because I want to, and then whenever there's something that I'm not skilled enough to do, I specifically study that so then I can do it, I'll just naturally be better at art. So a couple days ago, I was toying with the idea of doing Drawbox again, because as on again and off again as my relationship with Drawbox has been, it is a familiar old friend, and just the way that it's a defined progression, you know, I would never have to think, what am I supposed to do next? Or am I doing this right? Because you can get your homework graded, and that's all great. But I feel like if I start doing Drawbox again, I'll just repeat the cycle that I've been doing each time I started and stopped, which is feeling like, oh, this will make me better at drawing. That seems like a good idea. And then I'll read the part where he says, you need to draw for fun. You need to draw things you want to. And then I'll say, self, I don't know what I want to draw. I don't know what is fun. So I'm just gonna keep doing practice because that feels like the right thing to do. And then get bored and then quit because, like, why? And then I'll be thinking about it in another 5 years and then do it again and whatever. I feel like, I don't know, I'm seeing it now. As evidenced by all these pieces that I've done over the past couple years, I already have the skills to do a lot of the things that I want to use drawing for. I won't be making masterpieces. I won't even be making things that look pretty. Certainly not anything social media post-worthy. I feel like as long as I have something I want to use it for, and then I use it, and then I make something, and it works okay, eventually I'm gonna reach a point where my skills aren't high enough to get the effect that I want or be useful for the purpose that I want, and then I'm gonna have to study, maybe with Drawbox, maybe with something else, improve those skills until I can do what I'm trying to do, and then keep using the skills until I reach the next bottleneck, and then cross that hurdle when I get there. I guess maybe I didn't want to learn to draw just to draw pretty things or draw pretty people, because that's never been so motivating that I had to run over and do it right away. So I guess if I'm gonna be really honest with myself about how I've been thinking about drawing, I feel like what I meant by I want to be able to make pretty pictures and draw pretty things is really more like I want to draw things that impress other people, that impress myself, that I can post online and people will like. And that's probably where all the fear and all the insecurity comes from, because I feel like that line of thinking makes it so that in my mind, if I can no longer draw well enough that people will like it or that I think it's pretty, then my skill has lost its value. Why even bother drawing at that point? Yeah, I'm like, I don't know. My sculpture's not casting a pretty shadow, then what's the point? Forgetting that that sculpture can be other things than casting pretty shadows. It can be a column that holds things up, or I don't know, a fireman's pole to get places. This metaphor is getting really weird. Anyway, I think I know what I want to work on next. My new place has these hall lights that are just eyeball piercing without shades. I got some frosted glass shades for them, but they're still too bright, so I had to cover them with an extra layer of paper, and I feel like it'd be really cute to put some fun designs on them, maybe change them out by the holiday. And I've been wanting to do this for like a year, and I keep thinking, oh, I'm not ready for that. I'm picturing like a beautiful nymph in a forest and all these whimsical elements, and I'm like, oh no, I could never. I need to wait until I'm better at drawing. I can't, do something like that. It's gonna be up. I don't want people to see my terrible art. But now if I really think about it, if I'm really thinking about it, nobody's holding me to that standard except me, and not even me now, because I know better because of this book. I feel like it's quite inspirational. Like, if I don't have the skill to execute something that's so extravagant and so complicated, then reduce the need for skill. Like, I could just do some sort of repeating pattern. I could make a stencil. If it's paper, I could even just like print it out on the paper or print out a stencil and then put that onto the lampshade. I don't know why that never occurred to me until now. Maybe because it feels like cheating, but like, for who? For why? I just want pretty lampshades, and I don't think anyone cares how I get the design onto my lights. So why are you learning to draw? Why are you here on this video? What sorts of skills have you been developing and why? And how has it helped you in life? Any recommendations for cool things to know how to do? What kinds of things have you accomplished over the past couple years? I would love to hear about it. As always, I hope everyone has a wonderful week. Stay safe out there and remember that talent is a myth. Now, get back to work.